One. Welcome everybody back to another episode of the Amateur Experts Podcast, where we are experts on absolutely nothing. We're back. We got a full crew finally. Big Jared back from the COVID. Gave it the elbow drop off the top rope. Pinned it 1, 2, 3. We're back in business. So I am Landon Oliver, your host, here with my co-host Andrew Scott and my other co-host Jared Hawley. You guys doing all right? How you feeling, buddy?
I feel a lot better. I'm really happy to be back and seeing you guys, even though it's through a computer screen. It's still really nice and refreshing. I feel like a prisoner in my own home. Like it's COVID stuff's real. Like it's awful. Like it was really, really terrible. And I'm sorry too, anyone listening. I was kind of laughing right at the beginning. It was definitely not laughing at anything COVID related. We were making few little jokes before the show, and
we're making fun of the Houston Texans.
The Texans backfield is just so comical, but like, of course, Landon hits 1, 2, 3, go as we're just getting right off that, and I'm just up laughing. So
because we're talking and like there's a lot of like funny good stuff, and like we're just not even recording it. So
yeah,
we'll just hit record. Like we'll just
it's really good to see you and Drew, man. I'm happy to be back. I hope everybody's doing really well.
Yeah, it's good to have you back, man.
Thanks, guys.
That it is. So, of course, he didn't miss the week 3, pretty much the review, the money-making matchups, all that good stuff. But now he is here for week 4, where we have our smash and pass edition, where we can just be completely wrong again for the 4th week in a row.
And hey, I tried to make you proud while you were gone, though, Jared. The lineup I gave on the podcast last week for DFS ended up cashing in like a whopping 50 cents. So
we made money. We made money. That's what money making.
The dub's a dub, man.
Yeah.
Take small victories in DFS.
Yeah, so stay tuned for some more big cash winnings.
Yeah, exactly.
So far, 2021 has not been my year. Like
I don't know.
I didn't even play week 3, guys. I'll be honest with you. I didn't set any lineups, or hell, I couldn't even make it through an entire game. So, but this week I'll be playing again, and we got this show, and like I think just talking amongst you guys already, I think this week's gonna be a really good week for everybody.
Yeah, this seems to be like usually week 4. After week 4 is when you kind of start getting a feel for the season and how it's going to play out. That's usually, because the way I did, especially with it being 16 weeks, which of course now it's not, because I don't know about you, I hate odd numbers. I hate odd numbers. It messes with me.
Yeah, it's weird.
So I would always divide it up into quarters. So usually after quarter 1 is whenever I would kind of get like, okay, like these are the trends. This is the way the season's going to go. And we're approaching that this week. So I'm interested to see if the last 3 weeks were all kind of a mirage, or if they're actually, indicative of how these teams are approaching the season. I know the Colts, for example, like through 4 weeks, I'm really excited to see kind of how they're approaching the season in a hospital room, because that's how they've approached the season on the IR. So, that was laugh. Okay. Laugh. Damn it. It's a joke. Give me a smile. Don't give me a blank stare. So yeah, regardless, I'm really excited now that week 4, just to see how this plays out. And maybe we can finally, some of these opinions we formed over the first 3 weeks, we can see if they're true. We can see if they're just kind of, playing a little cat and mouse with us there on the football field. So, we're just going to hop on right into it, guys. We got our smash and pass. We're going to go ahead and get out of the way. So I don't know who's going first here.
We got to start with the most important position first.
That's right, and that is the running backs. So
if we don't do running backs, the people that are still listening are just going to click right off. So we got to reel them in with the running backs.
Yeah, they probably clicked off already with like the 19th Colts hospital joke I've made over the last 2 weeks. So they probably heard another one and they're like, "Oh, here we go again." Like,
the Colts just need to stop giving you such a hard time, man. All right, so I covered running backs this week. If you listened to tight ends last week and you don't want to listen to me this week, I cannot fault you one bit, because it was a huge swing and a miss. But so my running back smash, I'm starting out with David Montgomery. And this is more of like a trying to give guys some confidence, because last week was literally, I think, as bad as it gets, like in terms of, I think that there was like the worst offensive output since like 1910 or some shit. I can't remember the number I saw, but it, couldn't get any worse. And you might be a little scared to play David Montgomery this week, with all things considered.
And
I'm here
Matt
to
Nagy
tell
might
you.
try to one up himself.
Yeah. And look, if they put more shit on tape against Detroit this week, I don't know how that guy makes it back to Chicago. If the team allows him to make it back, I'm not so sure the fans allow him to make it out of the city of Chicago alive. So
Have you seen that meme where like they hold up a sign and it's like, our expectations were low for you, but holy that's Matt Nagy.
Yeah,
Like
and
the
that's
expectations
accurate
are
as
so
it gets.
low, but Jesus, dude.
Yeah. So, and this one makes me a little bit nervous personally too, man. But I believe in David Montgomery, the player. I think it's pretty clear what they need to do to be successful. And lucky for them, they have the Detroit Lions on tap, who are bottom 5 in the league against the run, at least in terms of fantasy. So that the matchup is there, the talent and the player is there, and I don't think even Matt Nagy can screw this one up. So this is more of a vote of confidence for those guys that you played David Montgomery last week. He obviously burned you. I'm telling you, you can put him right back in there as a high end RB2. And if you count on him for an RB1, you might be in a little bit of trouble. But I do still consider him in that high end RB2 range, like the running back 15 on the week type of thing. So that is my terrifying smash of the week.
I love it.
Yeah, I like Montgomery this
I
week.
love it.
I'm really hoping that, and see, here's the thing too with Nagy, is they said it's going to be a game time decision between all 3 quarterbacks as to who starts. And by 3, I mean Nick Foles. Yes, that Nick Foles. Justin Fields and Andy Dalton.
It's going to be Fields or Dalton. Matt Nagy thinks he's like some type of magician. He does this all the time, where he's just he holds all of his cards close to him, and then whenever it's time, he's like, "Oh, like gotcha." He's one of those guys, and
it's like the M. Night Shyamalan of like.
It's like the shit with
let me put a twist in here, but it's not really a twist. It's just
it's like the shit with Urban Meyer this preseason. We're gonna have an open competition for the quarterback, between Trevor Lawrence and Gardner Minshew. Like, shut the hell up, man.
No, you're not.
Yeah, Minshew, he's not even there anymore. Minshew's not even
right.
I was gonna say that's what
Like,
sucks, is because now like you wasted half of your reps in the offseason
Yep.
on Gardner Minshew, whenever you knew all along what you were doing, and then you traded the guy.
Yeah,
it's just whatever.
So
to kind of piggyback off of Drew here, though, another reason why I love Montgomery this week is I think people are going to load up in daily fantasy on the Lions defense, which is already like kind of crazy to me that people are going to play the Lions defense as much as I feel like they're going to. But they seen what happened to the Bears last week and how like they look just stagnant. Like, I mean, they got sacked 9.5 times, which is unheard of. But that was against a Browns defense with that pass rush that they have. And even as good as the Browns defense is as a pass rushing team, 9.5 sacks is not going to happen again. Like, it's just not. Like, Matt Nagy is not a great coach, and like I've about lost my shit already on here a couple of
He's
times.
not a good coach,
but there's no way whoever's playing quarterbacks can sack 9.5 times, and they're going to run the football a lot this week.
Look, if somebody in that coaching staff didn't pull Nagy to the side and be like, look what these people are saying about you. Look what you did. Like that, those people don't care about Nagy, and he's got the wrong coaching staff anyway. Like if he's still got people that's like, hey, man,
look what these guys on this
podcast
said about you.
No, I'm not saying us. I'm saying the big guys. Like there was people on ESPN calling for his, like Dan Orlovsky, and those guys were calling for his head. Like he shouldn't coach for another second. But it's not even the headlines.
There was people apologizing to Mitchell Trubinsky.
Yeah, and it's not
because
even the
of
headlines
that
necessarily
game
of him needing to be fired, but some of the stats that came after the huge headlines. Like if you
is he the
look
new
beyond
Adam Gase?
He's getting there, man.
He's getting there. Yeah.
Trubinsky
But
looked fire in the preseason.
the amount of times
fucking
that
killed them.
Fields, the amount of times they didn't move for Fields or anything like that was just absurd. And that's what I'm talking about, that they had to show him. Like, surely to God, the terrible numbers of the game plan they had last week, somebody in that coaching staff had to be like, look, this is where we went wrong.
I don't know. It depends. I mean, I'm sure on PFF, Matt Nagy's the number 3 rated coach in the league right now. Analytics.
But either like I don't care. Even if Nick Foles is the quarterback, I just think that means David Montgomery is going to get even more carries. So like I love Montgomery regardless of who starts at quarterback this week with the matchup and his talent.
Yeah. Selfishly, I hope it is Justin Fields, and I hope they actually try to play football this week. That would be a positive development.
God, I'm starting to kind of hope that they bench Justin Fields until Nagy gets fired, and then whoever comes in can start Fields so that he doesn't ruin Fields too.
Yeah, because I mean, you like, trust me, as a guy that has Carson Wentz as their quarterback, you let your quarterback get sacked 9 times, they're going to end up with 2 bum ankles. That's just a bad recipe. So now that we got your smash, let's get to your pass. I'm curious to see who you got.
So my pass is the weekly version of do not start the running back that plays against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this week it is Damien Harris. And this one might have seemed kind of like, to me, this one seems as like maybe people aren't playing him anyway because he had a down week last week, but then you had James White go down for the year. That's one less body in the backfield. And now maybe more people are saying, all right, so fire Damien Harris back up then.
Or is it?
And I don't think that's the case. One, you've got the Bill Belichick factor where he's got the Matt Nagy factor whenever it comes to running backs. But like I still think Damien Harris is a great running back, but Tampa Bay is number 1 against the run for like 3 years running now. And on top of that, I don't think that this is going to be a
run the ball game.
Yeah, like they're not going to be able to run the ball because they're going to be playing catch up. Like the game flow is not going to be in Damien Harris's favor. So the only way I think you're happy with Damien Harris's output is if he falls into the end zone. If they get a pass interference call that puts him on the 1 yard line and he falls in. Outside of that, I don't see him having a big game. I mean, if you like, I imagine probably Brandon Bolden would probably step into that pass catching role would be my guess, but I mean, who knows?
Ramondre Stevenson could possibly get some screen work. Or
this could be the week we see Stevenson come back in and start to get some run. Yeah. So, while I like Damien Harris, the player, I don't like the matchup. I don't like what the game flow is going to be in my, how I have it projected to be playing out. So, and you've been able to, other than last week, you've been able to count on him as an RB2 for your team, and I don't think that's going to be the case this week. I'm fully expecting him to finish outside of the top 24 running backs this week. So, if you've got another option, I think you should go to it, and I think you should fade Damien Harris this week.
Yeah, I mean, made some good points. It's kind of hard to argue against any of that. I've never been a massive Damien Harris fan anyway. I mean, I think he's a decent player, but I mean, I don't know. I've never seen it with him.
I think he's the most touted running back on that roster.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
but I mean, from where you were drafting him, there was just some other guys that I would have rather had over Damien Harris, where he was getting drafted, to where I wasn't necessarily considering him even being on my roster. But I mean, you are correct. I think this is going to be a game where Brady's out to prove something. They're going to try to do whatever they can to.
More about Brady later.
Yeah. They're gonna run the score up in this game on both sides, Tampa Bay side and this. Like, it's not going to be a running back friendly game. Very similar to, I don't know if you guys remember a whole whopping 3 weeks back, whenever it was the Dallas and the Tampa Bay, that opening game, where it was almost, what was like 110, 118 passes thrown in that game. You might see a repeat this week, and 100 of those 118 passes might be from Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, man. I hope Mac Jones doesn't have a huge chunk of that pie, but
Mac Jones ain't gonna be able to keep up.
No, man. This is gonna be a rude awakening for for the Mac Jones camp and the New England that thought that they were kind of turning the page and that they, we're gonna bounce right back. This is gonna be. I'm looking forward to this one, man. Just as an appreciator of Tom Brady and as someone that just does not like the New England Patriots, I'm really looking forward to it.
I don't know, man. Like me and Jerry talked about this the other day because we were both actually at this game. Like, I remember thinking the same thing with like whenever Peyton Manning came back and played the Colts at Lucas Oil, like his first game back. We had Andrew Luck. Like the team around him wasn't really that great, and me and him both went to that game. And I like, for me personally, I remember going in there and just being like, Peyton's about to like murk us. Like because that was the year, he's with Denver. It was the year right before, he threw 55, I think. So, I mean, I still think he threw like 38, 40 touchdowns that year. And it was like, man, like he's going to come in here and just annihilate us. And honestly, I think the crowd was a big reason why I've never seen a football stadium shake like it did the night that Peyton Manning came back to Indianapolis.
It was an awesome experience.
Yeah, dude, it was, to me, like it was not only the best game that like I can remember, like it's just being there for it. It was one of my favorite experiences just in life, like not even in football, just in life, to get to like witness that. And like we honored him before the game. He came out, did his thing at midfield. Everybody cheered. Everybody teared up and cried. It isn't, and then as soon as the ball was snapped, man, like that place got so loud and got so many boos whenever he was on offense. Like it made, I couldn't go to work the next 2 days because I didn't have a voice and my job literally revolved around me talking. So yeah, I couldn't even go to work. That's how loud it was. So, I mean, granted, like as great as Brady is, like I remember thinking the same thing, like with Manning, is like, man, he's going to come in here and just completely just blow us out of this building, that now, of course, his statue's outside of, like, and he's just going to kill us. And that was not the case. Like young quarterback, took a less talented roster to a win, and it was an absolutely crazy game. So, I mean, I'm curious to see for these Patriots fans. It's not always cutting. Yeah. I mean,
like it's just not, like, I know where you're going with it.
I'm just saying, like it's football. Like any team can beat any team on any given week. So.
Yes. And I would agree with you 100% of the time.
That doesn't mean I'm picking New England to win the game, but I'm just saying, having personally like experienced this exact
I can see
scenario.
Robert Kraft coming down from like the owner's box and literally handing the ball off to Tom Brady with like 30 seconds left in the game and let him walk into the end zone and spike it one last time in that stadium.
Yeah, I think Kraft still likes Brady more than he likes Bill.
Belichick is going to get a rude awakening on Sunday, man. It's going to be a massacre.
And
Belichick's not out there playing either. I mean,
it doesn't. In Tom Brady's eyes, Bill Belichick is every cornerback he's throwing the ball against. He is every linebacker trying to hit.
Well, they all probably run about the same 40 times as Bill Belichick does.
It is a completely different scenario than Manning, even, which my feelings on that. The Colts dropped the ball big time on that scenario.
We fucked that.
But this right here is the ultimate. Like I believe, like I don't believe in revenge games, narratives, and all that stuff. It's just not my thing.
Shit, but I do.
This one right here, this is the definition of Tom Brady's been waiting for this game. Like, and they're coming off a loss too. Like that was
the point I was about to make. Yeah, it was like as if Tom's needs more motivation. They just, got beat out in LA against the Rams, and they're coming into this game now. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be pretty.
And he has a chance to break. I mean, not even a chance. He's gonna break the passing record.
He only needs like 70 yards to break the record. Yeah. So he'll break that on probably like the first drive of the game.
Yeah. He's gonna throw.
He's gonna look at Arians and be like, "Look, don't call a single damn run and play this first drive. I got this." And he's just gonna drive him down the field. Oh,
yeah, it's gonna be It's gonna be.
I'm excited to see that. I texted Ray the other day, and I was like, "You gonna be okay for the game?" And he said he's about to fuck us up. I was like, "Yeah,
Look, that's
yeah.
a Patriots fan. For those that are listening, that's a Patriots fan that's coming
Yeah." I
from.
was like, "Yeah,
So
he's probably it's gonna be pretty bad." But I'm just saying, like, haven't seen a scenario similar to this, and like being there for it, like those fans, if they're which. I mean, I can't speak for New England fans, as you know, but like for Colts fans, it was. I mean, it was wild in that stadium. So it'll be interesting to see for sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't anticipate anything other than Brady. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of passes thrown from the 1 or 2 yard line for touch. They're not running the ball in.
yeah, no, of all weeks this week, they're not running the ball in. So, so my pass for all that being said, my pass for the week is Damien Harris. I think he's a good player, but the game flow, the matchup, just in general, that Tampa, the way you beat Tampa right now is you pass the ball against them, and that's just not Damien Harris's forte. So, I'm passing on him this week. My sleeper for the week, though, digging a little bit deeper here, is none other than Mr. Kenneth Gainwell from the Philadelphia Eagles. And my reasoning for this is simply because the Eagles play against the Kansas City Chiefs this week. The defense is bad, but the offense is really good. They're going to have to score plenty to try to keep up with Kansas City this week. And Kenneth Gainwell is easily the best pass catching running back on this team. Miles Sanders, while he's good at what he does, I think what he showed us last year, whenever they tried to make him a 3-down back, showed us that he just is not a 3-down running back. And I think that, that's a big reason why they drafted Kenneth Gainwell in the first place. So if you need a dart throw running back this week with the amount of times that Philly's going to have to throw the ball to try to keep up with Kansas City's offense, and then with the fact that it is a defense that can be beat, I do think the Gainwell could be in for a big game. Now, you're talking about, in most consensus rankings, this guy's down in like the 50s. So, you're digging deep here, but that's what a sleeper is. So I think if you need a desperation play, or if you're looking for a cheap option in DFS, something like that, I think Kenneth Gainwell could be very interesting this week.
Yeah, that's the definition of a sleeper right there. I really like that pick. Because that's what it is. And that's what we do is, we're not out here telling you like, sleeper pick Antonio Gibson.
Like, for example, I almost went with Zach Moss, but like he had like 2 touchdowns 2 weeks ago. He was the lead back this past week. And then, now he's got the matchup against Houston. I feel like that one might be a little bit too obvious with with the way that backfield's been trending. But so, just another caveat in there too. I think Zach Moss is a good play this week as well. And I'm not even a huge Zach Moss fan, but with him getting the work that he's been getting in that backfield, and then the matchup against Houston, that they should be able to get a very, very early lead in and be able to burn some clock. That was another one too, but I went with Gainwell just to give you something a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I really like that for sure. So, yeah, that pretty much just takes over our running back position, and now we will get into the fun position, aka the wide receivers.
Yep.
And we're going to start with my smash of the week, and that is Stefan Diggs, wide receiver from Buffalo. Look, Diggs has not been the guy you drafted him to be so far this season. He's only caught the 1 touchdown. I don't think he's had over 70 yards receiving in any game. So he hasn't been the guy. That being said, he still leads the Bills in air yards, and he still has a 26.45 target share percentage, which means over 1 out of every 4 passes thrown from Josh Allen are going to Stefan Diggs. And look, it's only a matter of time before he was going to go insane. They get to play the Houston Texans this week. And I don't know if you know what the Houston Texans did last week against DJ Moore, but DJ Moore absolutely annihilated them on 12 targets. So, look, Diggs this week, he's the guy. He's that target share, that touchdown percentage, that, it's all going to go up. Well, the target share might not. The target share is actually in a really good spot, but those yards, I'd almost bet he has over 70 yards this week, and I bet he's got a touchdown this week. This is the week that you drafted Stefan Diggs for, because the previous 3 weeks, you haven't, like I said, he hasn't lived up to the expectations. So if there's a Stefan Diggs owner in your league that over the last 3 weeks has kind of been like, well, I don't see why I spent a second round pick on this guy, try to go get him, because I think after this week, you ain't going to be able to get him. This is probably the lowest you're ever going to see Stefan Diggs' value. And that's this week, because after he gets done with the Houston Texans on Sunday, it's, he's back on that untouchable list. So that is just from where I view Stefan Diggs this week.
No,
So
and
now,
to that point, I literally every league I had Stephon, or every league I didn't have Stephon Diggs in, I went and made offers this week. Like midweek this week, I tried to trade for him in every league I don't have him in, and unfortunately was not successful at any of them. The owners in my leagues were not panicking yet, which I don't blame them for.
right.
But yeah, this is the week. Absolutely, I forget what the word is for it, but it's like unforeseen air yards or something air yards, the air yards that haven't come to fruition. Essentially, Stephon Diggs is number one in that stat.
Yeah.
So I mean, the like you said already, the target percentage is there, the air yards are there, the connection just for whatever reason has not been there. And Stefan Diggs is one of, if not the best route runner in the entire National Football League, and he's about to go up against a secondary that he can absolutely cook against. Like he's going to make these guys and the Texas secondary look silly. So yeah, I'm 100% on board with this pick. I think he's about to have a humongous week, and like Landon said, if you can trade for him, go do it, because this is the last week you got a chance to do so. I tried. Like I'm putting it out there for you guys. Every league I don't have him in, I tried and I was unsuccessful. So hopefully you have more luck than I do.
Right. And some of the trades that I've seen go down in other leagues, not necessarily fantasy smart leagues. So if you're a guy that might just play in a home league with, your buddies or, family or something like that, and you're able to go out, take a little bit of advantage of, old Uncle Jim over there playing, drinking the PBRs on Saturdays before the games on Sunday, go and see if you can get Stefan Diggs from Uncle Jim.
Right.
So now let's get into my quarterback pass of the week. And that, unfortunately, is my boy, DeAndre Hopkins. It's Nuke. There's actually a lot of factors that go into this. Once again, this is me not saying he is a bad player, but I think he's not going to live up to where you drafted him this week. Not only does he have a rib injury, he did not practice at all this week and is questionable. But on top of that, he is actually fourth on the Arizona Cardinals in targets from Kyler Murray. So he's not even first on his team in targets. He's already hurt. And now he gets to go against Jalen Ramsey. And if you look at the 2 games last year where they played, Jalen Ramsey held DeAndre Hopkins to 52 yards and 35 yards, both games that they played, which is not good. And he only allowed 4.7 yards per target to DeAndre Hopkins last season. So you have the Jalen Ramsey factor, you have the injury factor, and you have the factor that he's not even top 3 on the team in targets right now at that wide receiver position. And it's all kind of just coming together for me to look for other ways. Now, I'm not saying you need to bench DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, if you drafted him if you have DeAndre Hopkins on your team, you probably drafted him in the first or second round, and you can't necessarily afford to bench your first or second round pick. But if you have, a guy like, Stefan Diggs, who I think is, going to go insane. So if you have Diggs and Hopkins, you might be a little safe, but I would just try, depending on what your bench looks like, maybe you could put Hopkins in the flex if you have some other guys. I'm curious to see, let's pull up the wide receivers up here, and let's take a look at some guys that we might want to play over DeAndre Hopkins this week. So DeAndre Hopkins right now is wow.
Talking about people on waivers.
Yeah, no. Just like some guys that might be on your bench that, like Cortland Sutton, for example, a guy you might have drafted late as a bench player, and Hopkins are probably drafting in round 2, to get him. So, you're looking at Deebo Samuel, Amari Cooper, Cortland Sutton, Brandon Cooks. I'd probably rather play Odell this week. Over DeAndre Hopkins.
Corey Davis.
Corey Davis, from Jared. So if you have Corey Davis sitting on your bench, Antonio Brown could be a good option with the way we think Brady's going to, attack New England. So, those are just some options that you might have on your bench that you drafted late that you might be able to throw in over DeAndre Hopkins this week. I don't know, Andrew, do you have anything you wanted to add to DeAndre Hopkins or, any of these guys that maybe you're looking at playing over him?
No, I just I can't really add too much because I'm just going to want to talk about how incredible Jalen Ramsey is, and I could spend 2 hours talking about that. So, but just to piggyback on it, Jalen Ramsey's target is giving up a 61 passer rating when targeted so far this season. So that put on with the success he's had in the past, it's just that guy. That's one of the pleasures of being a Rams fan is getting to watch that guy work on a week-to-week basis, and it just blows my mind every single week how incredible he is. And just I don't want to play anybody that I have projected lineup to get shadowed by him. And I think that's, with Hopkins, he is, even though there are talented players on Arizona, I think he's the clear one. And anytime there is a clear one on the team, Ramsey usually shadows that guy. And so, I would feel very comfortable saying Hopkins is not a wide receiver too. He's not a top 24 option this week. So like you said, I'd be comfortable playing Odell over him. Tyler Boyd's already played, but that would have been a good example. Devonte Smith against Kansas City.
Here's an interesting one here. I kind of want to get your guys' take on this. So obviously Allen Robinson also has not lived up to where you drafted Allen Robinson to be. Obviously we know what's happening with Chicago's offense right now. Would you rather play Allen Robinson or DeAndre Hopkins?
I would still probably just take the shot on Hopkins personally.
I like Montgomery. And I wouldn't invest two Bears offensive players in any lineup.
Well, no, but I'm just telling you, this is, just for fantasy purposes, not necessarily DFS. If we're talking DFS, I'm completely avoiding DeAndre Hopkins in DFS for sure. But
I think there's some good options that, to me, someone who's a number one who no one is going to be talking about this week, and they're going to have to throw the ball to Jacoby Myers in New England. I know we joked about, Mac Jones is not going to be able to keep up. Well, he's going to have to throw the ball 40 times or more in that game. And
that air yard stat that I talked about that Diggs is leading in, Jacoby's not far behind either. He's another guy that he's due for a huge game in Tampa Bay. Secondary can be beaten. So I'm on board with that too. I think Jacoby's a really good play this week.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay secondary is historically bad right now.
Now
they're on pace to be
on pace to give up over 300 yards passing every game. So,
which they do have multiple guys that are injured, but nonetheless, that's not changing this week. Those guys that are hurt are still hurt this week. So
right. So now too, especially since you pointed out passer rating, that gets me into my next guy who is my sleeper this week, and that is none other than Tim Patrick. Wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. There's 2 players in the NFL right now that have a perfect passer rating when targeted. Do you know who those 2 guys are? One of them is up on the screen. Do you have the other one?
I was going to say, I bet one of them is Tim Patrick.
One of them is Tim Patrick. The other one is Tyler Lockett. The only 2 players in the NFL that have a perfect passer rating when targeted. Tim Patrick has also not dropped a single pass since week 13 of the 2019 season.
That's insane.
Mr. Reliable.
Yeah. So not only does he produce when he's targeted, he's reliable when he's targeted. Jerry Judy's out. KJ Hamler is out now for the season. So you pretty much now have Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick as your options for pass catching there in Denver. And I think, last week, Tim Patrick saw 45% of all the air yards in the Denver offense. Over half of all the air yards went to Tim Patrick, which is the 8th highest mark in the entire league. And that was with, a relatively tougher matchup. This week, the matchup is looking pretty good. He's a guy that all the signs point to now, him being one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL. Well, now he's getting his shot to prove it, because you have Cortland Sutton and then you got Tim Patrick, and outside of you still have Noah Fant, but those Denver Broncos receivers are dropping like flies, and this guy, all he does is produce when he's targeted. As good as Teddy has been this year, I'm really excited to see. And he's actually a guy that I slotted into one of my lineups this week. I benched Jamal Williams. Let's see, who all did I bench for Tim Patrick this week? So I have Tim Patrick. I benched Mike Davis, Jamal Williams, Brian Edwards, and that is who I'm rolling with. So yeah, I've actually got my money where my mouth is on this. Taking the running backs out of my flex spot and throwing in Tim Patrick, because I think the targets are there. And as he has shown now for at least a couple years in that Denver offense, whenever the targets do go his way, good things tend to happen. So this could be a very, very quiet, breakout game as he kind of announces who he is to the National Football League and to the normal everyday fans. He might not be a household name, but he very well could be after this week, a guy that opened some eyes around the league. So if he's on your waiver wire, which I believe he's still available, I think it said in like 70% of ESPN leagues. If he's on your waiver wire, go grab him. Yeah. Go grab him right now. And I would honestly pick him, and we can look too where he's going. Where his rankings are this week. I think he finishes in the top 24 receivers. Right now, he is ranked as the 41st receiver. Now, they do get a tough matchup against Baltimore, but because of Baltimore's injuries, Marlon Humphrey.
Their secondary hasn't been as tough as it is supposed to be.
And I think Marlon Humphrey is going to kind of stick on Cortland Sutton, which leaves that quarterback, 3 or 4 to cover Tim Patrick. So he's going to have a good matchup with the cornerback. He's not going to have Marlon Humphrey on him. And I'm curious to see too, like with the way that Denver defense as well, we'll touch on here shortly, because I think Jared had a Lamar Jackson point, but there's a good chance that Denver's offense does have the ball quite a bit in this game too, which is just going to be even more opportunities. So I'm really excited to see what Tim Patrick can do this week, now that he's going to have a chance for a featured role in this offense.
Now we can let Jared remind the folks at home how much I swung and missed on tight end last week with his tight end smash of the week for week 4.
Well,
so Jared, I will let you take it away.
We all know the sexy position, Wayne, it is not wide receiver, it is tight end. As the sexiest position of all.
Jared loves him tight ends.
I sure do, let me tell you. So Drew told me before we went live that he said not only to pass on Mike Gesicki, but to drop him. Was that what you said, Drew?
Yeah, essentially, like, he was my pass last week, and I said if you needed to be able to bench him, if you needed to drop him, you could comfortably do so to be able to pick up another tight end to play. And then he came out and had, I think it was 12 targets, 10 receptions from Jacoby Beef Brisket, and made me look like a absolute fool. So needless to say, I'm on board with this pick this week.
Lock in Mike Gesicki. I don't love saying it. I was not, Drew, I was right there with you, man. I was not high on Gesicki at the beginning of the season. And a lot of that had to do with the quarterback situation. I really thought Miami was going to be using their wide receivers more. I thought Tua was going to be a much different quarterback than what he's been. Now that he's out, it's Mike Gesicki is going to be the primary target hog in that Miami defense or Miami offense. They play a Colts defense right now that is it's decimated, and I don't know if he'll get 12 targets again, but easily Mike Gesicki gets 6 to 8 targets this week. And at tight end, like that's what you're looking for is volume. Volume is key for tight end. If they fall in the end zone, fantastic. It's already a smash, no matter who it is. But if Mike Gesicki gets 8 targets for 60 yards and a touchdown, you're winning. You're in great shape.
That's a top 5 tight end on the week.
Easily.
He's definitely not number 1 because
Travis Kelce. He's in the league of his own.
No, Travis Kelce's not number 1 tight end this week either.
Who, Darren Waller?
No, who played last night?
Yeah, CJ
Uzomah, tight end 1 on the week. I don't know. It's going to be a tough matching that performance.
Yeah, it is going to be tough to beat that one out this week. Good Lord, man.
Well, I do not I wouldn't bet against Travis Kelce or Darren Waller to beat the 2 touchdowns and 100-yard receiving. Like,
those guys are very capable of it.
They're wide receiver ones, man. But so yeah, Gesicki is a lock this week. I like Gesicki a lot.
A lock
For Gesicki.
One thing I've been learning about Jacoby Brissett, watching him play for the Colts for 2 seasons, is that guy has no anticipation when throwing. If your guy is not 100% wide open, Jacoby Brissett will not pull the trigger. So because of that, Jacoby Brissett loves to play it safe. He's an extremely, extremely safe quarterback. He doesn't take shots. He doesn't throw. I mean, he might take
that right there is how you keep a backup job in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, he's very safe, and
he's the prototypical backup quarterback.
Yeah, he's extremely safe. Like I said, he doesn't throw with anticipation. He doesn't throw, guys that, even if you have 1 or 2 steps, he's not going to throw you the ball. You gotta have a guy not within 5 yards of you before Jacoby's going to feed you the ball. And that's where the tight ends come into play, because a lot of these tight end, especially with a guy like Gesicki, who's more of a wide receiver as a tight end, who they line up in the slot, he definitely benefits from this because, they'll run little out routes, they'll run curls, they'll run seam routes up the middle, attack that Colts zone coverage. And this really is a perfect, not only game plan from the quarterback perspective for Mike Gesicki, it's also a really good defense for Mike Gesicki to go against, because not only are they decimated, but the Colts play a shit ton of zone. And the one thing that zone defenses hate and refuse to cover is the tight end up the seam. Especially when you have linebackers with, one good ankle who can't run with your tight end. This should be I think if he gets 6-7 targets, like you said, on the week, you're probably looking at least a top 10 tight end on the week.
Yeah, I think he's extremely safe for sure this week with a ceiling. I do feel like he definitely has a ceiling at tight end.
Yeah. So who's your pass here?
Oh, well, so this has nothing to do with talent, but my pass is the entire core of tight ends in Cleveland. Cleveland Browns are fantasy cancer at the tight end position. Woo. And what I mean by that is there's so much talent at that position on this roster that you don't know who to play. They have a good matchup. Definitely Minnesota is vulnerable on defense. I still don't feel like they're there yet. All 3 of these guys, Hooper, Njoku, I mean, they're great players.
Even Harrison Bryant's solid, man.
Yeah,
you just
a good option.
I guarantee it. If you play one, then the other 2 are going to do more than you. And, you're playing against yourself if you play the Browns tight ends. And it's nothing to do on talent. Like I said, it's pure volume at that position is just not there.
Yeah, I actually have a little bit of a dilemma because as a George Kittle owner, there's talk about George Kittle missing this week. And my two options are Austin Hooper or Gerald Everett with Seattle. And
Go Gerald Everett.
Gerald Everett's got COVID, doesn't he?
I'm not sure.
I think you might be. Your hand might be forced on that one because I'm pretty sure Everett tested positive for COVID earlier this week. So, I think that would rule him out for week 4. So that might kind of force your hand on that one.
Oof.
Yes. So he is on the COVID list, and so it looks like I have Austin Hooper.
Well, I may have you a guy, Landon. If he's available, I recommend going out to waivers
in the league that we
right
play
now and
in,
picking him up.
In the league we play in, I'm pretty sure he's probably not available.
Well,
but who is that guy?
My sleeper is in the same game as this one, and it's Tyler Conklin.
He is not available.
I figured he was, but he is not a household name. There is nothing sexy about this pick whatsoever.
He is available.
Oh, so let me give you some Tyler Conklin stats.
So now Drew's going to put in a waiver claim and
for one, Kirk Cousins is balling, absolutely balling, and it's almost criminal at this point, and no one is giving this guy any kind of respect. Here's the other part. You got 2 stud wide receivers and a running back, Dalvin Cook, coming back this week from a week off. No one is paying attention to Conklin. Conklin had 8 targets last week, 8, in an efficient passing offense. And against a Browns team that is not good against the pass at all. Like, they're not. I think Jefferson and Thielen are going to get more attention, especially with the cornerbacks not being that great in Cleveland, that they're going to try some packages to try to take them out of the game as much as possible. Dalvin Cook is going to get a lot of attention because it's Dalvin Cook. Who's going to be open? Tyler Conklin. Kirk Cousins is not missing many passes right now, man. And like this guy right here, I can easily see falling in the end zone and getting you some cheap fancy points that way. I can also easily see him getting 50, 60 yards receiving.
Yeah, so I got a question for you because I was actually in building a daily lineup. I was choosing between your smash of the week or your sleeper of the week. I think they're only like $100 cheaper in daily. Would you play Gesicki or Conklin?
I might play Conklin.
Yeah. But so is part of that because you think people are going to be on Gesicki because of the huge week he had last week?
Gesicki coming off of 12 targets, I think he's going to be pretty popular. And at tight end, like especially in daily, they're going anybody coming off 12 tight end targets, like they're going to be popular the next week. This guy wasn't far behind at 8, and I trust the quarterback position. Like I do trust Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. I think it's a sneaky play. He's got 2 touchdown upside. Like I know it's crazy to throw that out there, but I really do.
If a tight end hits like that, though,
yeah, if it's over. I mean, you're locked. You're cashing for sure that week. There's no competition behind him for reps or anything. There's no Kyle Rudolph anymore. There's none of that. Irv Smith went down early in the season. This guy he's basically what fantasy people thought Irv Smith was going to be this season. This guy has stepped into that role.
I like it.
It's completely under the radar.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Kind of
you better pick him up, Landon.
Landon was leaning back in his chair. It was looking like he was doing some stuff on his phone there. Might have to go put in a little.
Yeah, I was actually doing some research. Not necessarily waiver claims, but
Landon probably put in for like 2, 3. I think I know about how many dollars I need to put in this snake game. So anyway,
fucked up. Fucked up because we have a show together. You would have never known.
Moving on to the quarterback smash.
It looks like George Kittle. I was doing. It looks like George Kittle's actually more than likely going to play. So I think I might be good.
Yeah, you should be in good shape.
You can't bench George Kittle for any of those 3 guys we just mentioned. But at the same merit, though, if someone's
a great
tight end this week,
George Kittle's a great offensive lineman.
But so
good at that too.
quarterback smash. We talked a decent amount about this guy already during the running back pass of the week. A reason that I was passing on Damien Harris is because this guy was going to put up such crazy numbers. But so leaning into that, our quarterback smash of the week, this is the one category where we do kind of collectively is none other than the GOAT himself, Tom Brady. We have went full circle where you guys have went from pass a few weeks ago to now he is our smash. And
that worked out great.
Yeah, fantastic.
I am just really, really hoping that this is going to be the final nail in the coffin for me. I've had a lot of fun with the whole like hashtag system quarterback memes over the years. Like I've really kind of overused it maybe to a point. Anytime basically Brady does something great, especially once he left New England.
Tom.
So if this man goes into New England and lights up Belichick's defense, I might print out posters, like just hang them up, like just put them on fucking light poles outside and stuff of system hashtag quarterback, hashtag system quarterback. I'm looking forward to this one, man. So yeah,
to avoid the system, he had to go get Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Gronk, Antonio Brown.
Hey, well, maybe the system guy should have done that instead.
They definitely should have done that. 100%.
And instead he's paying big money to Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith and Jacoby Myers and Nelson Aguilar and not using any of them. So, that's not Tom's fault.
Tom was there, they'd win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Jacoby Myers would probably be looking like the greatest wide receiver of all time at this point, but nonetheless. Tom's coming back.
Need the little white guys running around.
Tom's coming back home. This is Sunday Night Football this week, right?
Yes.
Okay, so all eyes are going to be on this game. All eyes are going to be on this game. I imagine this is probably
actually hope it's a good
Sunday
game.
Night records. Well, it depends on what your description of a good game is, because for me, a good game would be Tampa Bay winning by 50.
Yeah, that's a great game.
That's a good game for me.
No, I want to see like similar to like what we saw yesterday. That was a really good game last night, and so.
Yeah, I want none of that. I want the Bucks to absolutely blow them out of the water. That's a good game.
None of that whatsoever.
I want a good game. I don't want it to be over by like the end of the first quarter. I get enough of that shit on Saturdays when it's Alabama.
You ever worked at a company for like 15, 20 years, and then all of a sudden, you're treated pretty good. They know how much you're worth to the company and how well you do for the company and everything you bring to the table. And then, 1 year you kind of have an off year a little bit, and then you're on the fence about playing there anymore. You've been in that company for 20 years, man. You've done everything you possibly can. So you go to talk to your head coach, your manager for 20 years, and he says he's too busy, but you can give him a call if you want to talk to him as an exit interview, basically.
No time for an in-person exit interview, but we can set up a Zoom meeting if you want to.
If I was to quit my job tomorrow, where I've worked at for a very long time, I would want to go in there and drop 50, 60 points. If theoretically,
I'm gonna go drop your nuts on the casino table.
But I would want to make sure that they knew when I left, whatever I was going to do and wherever I was going was going to be bigger and better than anything I ever did at that other place.
And Tom is petty as shit.
Dude, this is the ultimate narrative to just basically stick it to them. Like the host system quarterback thing that everybody, including myself, he had Bill Belichick all those years. 1 year without Bill Belichick, he wins the Super Bowl. Bill Belichick's 8-12 without Tom Brady. At this point, man, this is the last thing this dude has to do, and he is going to go in there and just absolutely rip them apart. And it's going to be beautiful.
This is the nail in the coffin for the system quarterback narrative. And I mean, if it goes poorly, then
it's not. Let's say theoretically, they lost to the Rams last week, right? He threw for 400 and how many yards? 435 yards and a loss against the Rams defense. There's no narrative where this dude is not. Huh?
How many attempts did he have?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't.
How does that not matter?
I'm not sure Bruce Arians is going to give a shit about running the ball this
week.
They're
not going to run the football, Lane.
No, I know they're not. But
I
no,
think
you're talking about last week. I mean, I'm just saying,
there's no narrative.
With those weapons, and if you throw the ball 60 times, like you should have 400 yards. That's not something that's like I'm looking back that I'm just like, oh my god, like Tom Brady's just. I mean,
But
like
look, if you
should do that. That's
but if you do,
he's going to do that just to do it.
You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that against the greatest defensive mind of all time, right? The greatest head coach in NFL history, right? Like that shouldn't happen against him, right?
Dude, he's going to expose Bill Belichick. Like it's going to be
yes. One, that's a ridiculous statement because
no, it's not.
As great as a defensive mind as Belichick is, Bill Belichick's not the players out there executing. I mean,
Bill Belichick's 8-12 without Tom Brady.
Yeah, Bill Belichick's roster is not as good as Tampa Bay's because of Bill Belichick.
It's worse than that if you go back deeper than before he left.
Well, I mean, also too, like if you want to pull up the Cleveland days, he actually he took over a team that was extremely awful, and he had them in the playoffs the year before.
I mean, he took them from suck to stink. I don't care about that, but
they didn't stink. He took them to the playoffs.
What they still stunk. Like if you
go they're a playoff team, they can't stink. Like you can't go from winning like two games.
The NFC East champs last year didn't stink. The Washington football team last year didn't stink. They were a playoff team. They didn't stink.
How many games did they win?
7.
They were under 500. They stunk, but they made the playoffs. That doesn't matter.
So did the Cleveland Browns win under 500 and make the playoffs?
I have no idea what the 1912 Cleveland Browns record was.
No, they didn't.
All I'm saying is, if you're the greatest, defensive mind in NFL history, and on top of that, like people are doing Josh McDaniels.
You as a Rams fan, if anybody should see what Bill Belichick did to Sean McVay in that Super Bowl.
What Bill Belichick did to Jared Goff. Yeah.
No, what he did to Sean McVay.
Well, okay.
Look, here's the thing. If hold on. So you can blame Bill Belichick for the players not executing, but you can't.
Yes,
Sean McVay
he's a head coach.
Oh, but it's not Sean McVay's fault. It's Jared Goff's fault.
It is Sean McVay's fault, but I don't think Sean McVay could have done any. I don't think Sean McVay could have done any better given what he had to deal with.
Okay, so you think Belichick can do any better rolling out J.C. Jackson and a bunch of outcasts against Tom Brady and Antonio Brown?
No. We were not. Whenever this season started, we were talking about how great this defense was. Even we're not even going to talk about Stefan Gilmore.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be a lot.
No. We're not talking about Stefan Gilmore. We were talking about how all these teams coming back from all the COVID opt-outs, all the guys, that this defense is going to be so much better.
The defense has been good.
It's been fine, yeah.
The offense has sucked, which he doesn't call the plays for.
Thank you. That's my point. That's what I wasn't even talking about the defense. What I was getting at was everybody wanted to talk about how Tom Brady was a system quarterback and all of the credit went to Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick was the guy that made Tom Brady. And now the offense sucks. And Josh McDaniels is really fucking slacking with the offense. What? What's happening?
The offense was never because Tom Brady was a system quarterback. Tom Brady winning the Super Bowls is because Bill Belichick gave him top 10 defenses almost every single season of his career.
Well, those top 10 defenses gave up like 30 plus points multiple times in the Super Bowl, and they still somehow won. So, I guess system quarterback just pulled one out the hat.
I'm not saying he's not like you're making it. I just don't know why it has to be an either or thing. Like, is Bill Belichick? It's not. It's not.
But it is.
One season doesn't erase the last 20 years of Bill Belichick with that defense and winning those Super Bowls.
It doesn't make it look good.
No, it's not going to erase it, but it's not going to erase it, but I'm still going to have a lot of fun with it. Like, I don't care about none of that.
Why does it not make it look good? Because like people on a podcast say that, like Bill Belichick's got
man.
And Bill Belichick, and not only that, Bill Belichick's won rings as a defensive coordinator without Tom Brady. Do you not remember how great the Giants defenses were?
Oh, look,
he's got 2 rings with the Giants as a defensive coordinator.
This is the point I'm trying to make, and this is the only thing why I find it's funny, and like the conversation is just fantastic. By the way,
I know this is what I love. I conversation.
So I like myself, like in how I view sports, is I am all about the player. Like coaching to me. Coaching is important, but it is not the number one thing of how teams win. And for years, myself included, for a long time, gave Bill Belichick the credit.
I give
And
him
and then
both.
after reading how they let this guy just walk, absolutely just dude, it's on par with Peyton Manning basically being
Oh, it's
kicked in the
worse than
butt.
Manning.
It's awful. It's absolutely awful. So to me, like, I cannot wait to see this 44-year-old quarterback go into the place that he built. That's his stadium. That's his team. This guy has more championships than any franchise in the NFL. He's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick is not on his level. And after Sunday, discussion's over.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing that I disagree with that point is Bill Belichick's not on his level. Bill Belichick isn't on the field playing against Tom Brady. The players still have to execute the game plan. If those players do not execute that, then regardless of how great the game plan is, it doesn't matter. I do agree, ultimately, players are the single biggest. Like, if Bill Belichick had Jalen Ramsey and Stefan Gilmore and Aaron Donald and all these guys, we're probably talking a little bit different about Tom Brady going in there and dropping 50, whatever, that we think they're going to drop. I mean, at the end of the day, like, you need talented players. And even though New England does have a better defense than they did last year because they do have talented players, they don't have the players that the Tampa Bay Bucks have. They don't have that caliber guy. They don't have a guy from Mike. I mean, JC Jackson's really good, but like, they don't have a guy from Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski. Like, they just don't have the personnel. So regardless if the game plan's great or not,
which is why he's our smash of the week.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. But to discredit Bill Belichick as a coach because of Tom Brady's success, both those guys needed each other. It's not a one or the other thing.
I don't disagree with that.
Belichick's got more rings Belichick's got more rings than Brady does without Tom.
As a coordinator, not as the guy.
As a defensive coordinator.
As a coordinator, as handling one spot, not as the guy.
Yeah, Robert Ory has more championships than Michael Jordan too.
Yeah. I mean,
okay. So then
let's not get too carried away.
Yeah, no. All I'm saying is like, to discredit Bill Belichick because
I'm not discrediting. Look, none of that was me discrediting Bill Belichick's defense. I just
want to make sure we're on a level playing field here.
For a decade.
I know the media runs with it, and I know like the average fan runs with it. Like, with the oh, it's Tom Brady versus Bill Belichick. No, it's not. It's Tom Brady versus Kyle Van Noy and JC Jackson. Like, Belichick can make the scheme all he wants, but those players have to go out there and execute. And if those players are not on that level, then it's not Bill Belichick out there running defensive coverages against Mike Evans.
Well, it is Bill Belichick putting the coverages out there. He's not running them,
exactly.
But he is the one putting them out there.
Yeah, exactly.
But
if those players don't if those players don't cover Mike Evans, then what good's the coverage call? What good does it do? I mean,
who's the GM of the Patriots?
I guess Belichick should have coached him up a little bit better. My whole point was like, I caught a lot of shit for I don't know how many years trying to fight the system quarterback battle.
Nice. 100%.
And saying that Brady was not a product of the system and he is just that good. And so that was my point. My point's not about the defense. My point is about how all of a sudden this guy who was the guy that sculpted the greatest quarterback of all time. Now Mac Jones is just looking, and the offense is looking, and it's, oh wow, Josh McDaniels is kind of lacking. Nobody's even talking about Belichick because he's the defensive guy. He's the defensive mastermind now. He's not the guy creating these system quarterbacks.
So you're comparing a Mac Jones who is in his fourth game as a rookie quarterback because he's not as successful as
this
Tom
has
Brady?
Nothing to do with Mac Jones. This has everything to do with Josh McDaniels versus Bill Belichick. And the conversation is being we were just having the conversation before this where y'all were talking about how Josh McDaniels has been exposed.
Yeah.
Why is it why him?
Yeah, he does. What do you mean why him?
Why
Because
Josh
the defense,
McDaniels?
the
Bill
defense has
Belichick was the
played.
one getting Bill Belichick was the one getting all the credit for Brady's success whenever he was
Absolutely.
doing well. So why is Josh McDaniels the one
Who-
taking the fall now?
Who is giving Bill Belichick all the credit?
Everybody, myself included. Like
Everybody. What do you
Drew
mean?
just admitted to
What
it.
do you
I
mean?
haven't even
So
told
hold
you.
on.
You
Before
were the main one I was having system quarterback argument was back in the day that was giving Belichick all of the credit for Brady's success. What do you
Basically,
mean,
me basically at this point backing Brady is for all the years of mistakes I have made, giving all the credit to Belichick at this point.
Belichick
but
got
I feel
who
like
is
I
arguing?
owe Brady.
Like, so
at this
outside of
point,
like
the
a few
respect
people,
that I was
like,
giving Belichick.
outside of a
all
few
those
people,
years.
the narrative for at least the last 6 or 7 years was that Tom Brady was the greatest quarterback that ever played. After so I don't
most
know.
people most people didn't hop on that until the
That's what I'm-
Atlanta Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was gonna say after he passed Joe Montana for the Super Bowl rings, pretty much everybody hopped on that narrative that okay, like now this guy, he has the most rings, he's gonna break the records. Like, yeah, this guy is probably like he's the greatest quarterback of all time. So I don't know how you can call a guy the greatest quarterback of all time and it still be giving all the credit to Bill Belichick for his success. That's an oxymoron. That doesn't.
No, it's not. Maybe you're talking. This guy's been in the league for 2 decades, and you want to talk about because 6 years of a narrative is one way that it's an oxymoron now.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
That's the
so hold on. You don't give Bill
sample.
Belichick the early credit for like his Tom Brady's first 4 years in the league. First 4 years in the league, he won 3 rings.
First 2 Super Bowls, and especially the very first one, his second year in the league. Yeah, absolutely. That defense did what it should have done. Brady
Those were the Super Bowls that people were giving Belichick credit for. He doesn't have 6 Super Bowls without Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick doesn't have 6 Super Bowls without Tom Brady.
I agree that they needed each other. I don't disagree with that. I just think that Brady should get the majority of the credit for the totality.
The players should always get the majority of the credit,
but they don't always.
Well, unless you're coached by Adam Gase.
I really feel if Brady would not have won a championship last year, there would still be talks that Belichick is the only reason why he ever won a championship. Am I right?
Yeah, if he would have failed at Tampa last year, it would have definitely been.
That would be ridiculous.
But let's say last year,
my argument has always been
he doesn't win or he doesn't win one at all.
Because most of our arguments, Drew, took place before he got the other 3. It was always the first 3 Super Bowls. Most of our arguments took place before that because it's very well documented, especially with me and you, that after the Atlanta Super Bowl, I changed my mind. Like, okay, this guy is the greatest quarterback I'd ever seen. After
even the Philly and the Carolina Super Bowls, I don't think he gets enough credit for those. For what he did down the stretch in those.
Yeah, I mean,
that Philly loss, he threw for 500 yards.
Yeah, no, I mean they won.
Yeah, they beat Philly.
They also lost.
We're talking about the first 3, the Carolina and Philly Super Bowls. Like, but I think the majority of those Super Bowls came because he had a great team and great coaching. Right? It wasn't just Tom Brady. Now, obviously, are they winning those Super Bowls without Tom Brady? No.
No Super Bowl ever has been because of one person.
No,
ever, none. No. Like even the one that he won in Tampa, it wasn't because of just Tom Brady. Like that's not the argument I'm making.
I mean, like, I think Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. I mean,
no,
be saying that, but I don't think like that's what I don't get is like, and it's this media thing. Like, I just don't get why you have to discredit another person's accomplishment to give credit to somebody else.
Oh, the simple answer for me is I just hate Bill Belichick.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the simple answer for me.
That's all like Tom Brady can win 2 more Super Bowls. It doesn't change the fact that Bill Belichick, if you go poll 99% of NFL players or coaches or GMs, like he's probably going to win the greatest coach and greatest defensive mind of our lifetime.
And I think he should be. Like everything we've said, I think he should be.
Yeah, like that. Tom Brady,
the greatest defensive mind of all time.
2 or 3 more Super Bowls. But it doesn't discredit any of that.
If you got as much shit as I did for like 10 years on the internet saying that Tom Brady wasn't a system quarterback, you would probably feel some type of way too up at this point. And then hearing how people are just dismissing like people that were wanted to give Bill all of this credit for the Patriots' offensive success, which was always confusing to me, even whenever the offense was succeeding
Yeah, I
and he
never
was getting
got.
that. That
I
was
mean,
always
maybe
confusing
when
to me anyway,
McDaniels,
because
maybe when
everybody
McDaniels went to Denver and like messed up, like in
everybody always talked
Denver.
about how, Bill's the defensive genius, and I was on board with that. But then and then they were like, oh, Tom's a system quarterback and the offense is succeeding because of Bill. I'm like, wait, I thought this guy was a defensive genius. Like, so you're telling me he's just a genius in general? And then I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't agree. I think that Tom is just a great quarterback, and I caught a whole lot of shit for that for like a decade. And then now Tom's gone and the offense
Our
is still kind of
arguments,
looking
yeah, our
the
arguments
offense is
revolved
looking kind
around
of meh.
Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. It wasn't
I
that Tom
just I
Brady
don't
wasn't a great quarterback.
I don't understand why Josh McDaniels is the one that is like, if Josh McDaniels is the one that is on the chopping block for the offense sucking now, he should have been the one getting the credit back then, is basically my point. Like,
Well, I mean, he
Bill,
did get credit.
Bill,
They hired
no,
him for a head coaching job. That's the
I
highest
feel
form of credit.
okay,
You can
so
get.
an NFL team gave him some credit. That has nothing. What I'm saying is the people that we speak with, the people that we talk to, the people we interact with, it was Bill
Yeah,
or
but most
Tom.
people, most people we talk with are casual fans. No, like nobody's gonna give credit where, like at the end, like that's like so when Tyreek Hill makes a great play, for Patrick Mahomes and the offensive line picks up a 0-man blitz. Nobody's going to give the offensive line credit for that great Tyreek Hill catch. That's what you're saying. Like the casual fan doesn't know. They place all the credit with the quarterback and the head coach. It's not the coordinators. It's not the position coaches. It's not the training staff. It's not where like that's what makes football to me the greatest game ever. Is it's literally an entire organization has to succeed at its most basic level so all the parts can succeed. One person doesn't deserve credit over any other person in the organization. Now, is the quarterback the most important position? Is the head coach a more important position? Yes, it is. But at the same time, like
Coaching
Bill,
matters. We
Bill
say that all the
Belichick,
time.
yeah, like Bill Belichick wasn't Tom Brady's quarterback coach. Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels wasn't his quarterback coach. Like he had to go train in the offseason somewhere. That guy should get credit.
That's my point,
Like,
man.
Tom Brady should get credit. Like everybody should get credit for those, like for just to even win a football game. People don't realize how hard
that goes back to my point though. That's what for so long Bill got all the credit for Tom's success, and I was just sitting here like, why is this man not getting his flowers? And then he did, and then everybody's like, all right, well, now that the offense suck. Like the offense was great. That was because of Bill. The offense sucks. That's not because of Bill. That's the only
the offense sucked last year. They won 8 games with a quarterback that threw for 7 touchdowns.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I just don't understand. Don't understand why now the narrative is switched to Josh McDaniels. This whole thing. I could
understand your point if the defense wasn't playing well, like if they were giving up.
I have no
30
qualms
points
with Belichick as a defensive genius, though. None. I have no qualms with that.
So let me make one point. Just one.
Josh McDaniels. Look, I mean,
just 1 point, please. Let me make 1 point here.
It's week 4. We're
just
4
1
weeks
point.
in.
I'm just asking you for 1 point.
Josh
here.
McDaniels for after 4 weeks.
As a Colts fan,
I don't think he should be fired.
Anyways,
I'm not.
Like, just let me make this 1 point.
All right.
So what do we hear about in the NFL all the time? The Belichick tree, the McVay tree, all these trees of these
Andy
coaches.
Reid's tree.
Andy Reid trees, all these different places, all these different coaches that came out of New England. What happened when they left New England?
I mean, generally, most of them aren't good.
They did not have success. Where did they go back?
They go back to New England.
Okay. So can Belichick not do it without those guys?
I mean, Belichick's done it with multiple guys.
He lets the year that our good boy we're talking about, Josh McDaniels, go. Did they win the Super Bowl that year?
No, but Josh McDaniels wasn't there for the first 3 rings.
No.
And to your point, the offense wasn't very good those first 3 rings either, right?
No, it
Correct.
wasn't.
I think in the Super
Well,
Bowl,
the Eagles
was.
game they were. Yeah. The Eagles
All I'm
game
getting-
it was.
All I'm getting at by this is I think, look, man, Bill Belichick is a great head coach. There's no doubt about it. I do feel like maybe something that we did in the past, that we gave him all the credit for all the success that Brady had and all those championships early. Maybe as the years have went on, Belichick has lost a step and Brady has surpassed him as the reason why they won the 3 after the first 3.
Okay. So, I mean, so if
Brady has gotten better through the years, where Belichick, I feel like, has lost a step through the years.
I don't necessarily think Belichick's lost a step because
Who's the
like,
GM of the who's the GM of the Patriots?
Bill
It
Belichick.
was the
But
guy that went over to the Texans, right? Or he wasn't the GM.
No, he
but
was Belichick.
He wasn't the
They
GM.
give Bill Belichick the decisions on draft.
Yeah,
picks.
Bill Belichick's got the final say.
They have
That's
not,
another thing that gets on my nerves is they suck in free agency, they suck in the draft,
and that's
and-
on Bill Belichick.
and nobody talks about it.
but
Yet
but
he's
they
the
weren't.
GOAT. He's the GOAT. But if Brady doesn't
Bill
win a
O'Brien was
championship
an
last
awful
year-
general manager, but Bill O'Brien was a great head coach.
He was a good head
Bill
coach. I think
Belichick-
great is a little generous. He was a good.
I think
He was a
really good head coach. He's a shitty GM. Those are two separate things.
he was
Bill
a much better head
Belichick
coach
is
than
a
he was
great
GM.
head coach, man. Bill Belichick's Hall of Fame, like he's probably the greatest head coach of all time. He is not the same coach he was 5 years ago, where Tom Brady is a better football player at the age of 44 than what he was at the age of 39. I feel like Belichick has lost a step and Brady he's hopped it.
I don't think
He's 2 steps
Belichick's
ahead.
lost a step at all. I don't think Belichick's lost a step at all. I think the head coaching job they did last year, I think that was one of the best head coaching jobs that Bill Belichick's done in his career. And they won 8 games. I mean, I don't know how you could sit there and say because they're not winning Super Bowls, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
They're not making the
are.
playoffs. They're
Yeah,
not
I
making
know.
the playoffs this year.
I mean, yeah, probably not. I wouldn't expect them to. I mean, I think they could have snuck in at the beginning of the season.
I was gonna say
but-
you can't say not expect them to.
I know
'cause
that's what I'm saying. I thought the offense would be better than what it has been. The defense has been just fine. I'm not worried about that at all. But especially when Stefan Gilmore gets back, they're without their best defensive player. I mean, you take Aaron.
we knew that.
the
We knew that
Rams,
coming in.
mean-
Well, that's not the same thing. We knew that coming into the season that they were going to be without Stephon Gilmore, but that's not a
Yeah, but
surprise.
see, that's only 6 weeks. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We're in week 4.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
you
it's
can't
still
really.
plenty. It's still
Yeah, I
really
mean,
early in the
you
season.
can't really
Yeah.
sit there and just be like, "Oh, this guy's lost the step." Like, are they going to be as good as a team because without Tom Brady? Yeah, well, duh. I mean, you you lose the greatest quarterback of all time, you're not going to be as good as a team. I mean, that's common sense. That doesn't mean you're.
I don't think
less of
that's
a
how
coach.
Belichick thought, man. I really don't feel like that was his mindset whatsoever.
Well,
I
mean,
really felt like I felt Bill.
I mean, if
Belichick-
you're a head coach and you think that your team's going to be worse, you've already lost.
it
if
doesn't
you-
matter. I think in his mind, he's like, he can go wherever he needs to go. That's no big deal whatsoever. I'll plug in Cam Newton, Mac Jones, or
Well,
whoever I
yeah,
can.
mean,
Just put in there and I'll win 12 games. I'll win this weak ass division and everything will be fine because I have the greatest of all time.
No, I feel like that's what a lot of people thought too. Like there was still people, like not you guys, but there were still people out there that whenever Tom left, that were still bought into the system quarterback narrative. Like there were I saw it out there myself personally, to where like people were convinced like, oh, Tom's leaving, but who cares? Like they'll plug in, the kid from that one commercial throwing a football on the playground and they'll win 12 games and go to the playoffs. Like, no big deal. Like that
Well, I
was
mean,
out
here's-
there.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, though, is they lost a lot more than just Tom Brady on that team last year.
Yeah,
it wasn't-
but
it
those
wasn't
guys
just
are
one-
back now.
Yeah,
Including
not all of them are back. I mean, it wasn't just one guy that.
a lot of those guys are back, and then they blew their load in free agency this year. I'm talking about blew it. Like,
which is why, like, for example, like, so if you look at if you look at like the bigger numbers, like especially if you've watched the games, like with New England, whenever they go in 11 personnel for whatever reason, both those tight ends, I don't know if it's an offensive design. I don't know if the defense is keying in on it. They're not that great. Whenever they go empty set, they're one of the most successful offenses in the league when they spread it out and let Mac Jones, spread the ball around. That's where most of their success comes from as an offense comes from. For whatever reason, they're not calling, those as if they're going in. Like, so last week, New England had a 2-minute drill.
Excuse me.
Go pull up the tape on that 2-minute drill that New England ran last week and watch the way Mac Jones marches them down the field in that 2-minute drill. And I mean, it, like Jared said earlier, like it was like in the preseason, you were watching number 12 in a Patriots uniform. That's what it looked like. They were up tempo. He was getting at the line of scrimmage. He was pointing stuff out. I mean, he was, hot routing guys. And I mean, it was just boom, 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 boom. And then they came out after halftime, huddled up, ran the ball, 11 personnel, 2 tight ends. It wasn't the same offense. So
nobody fears the Patriots anymore. There's no teams that fear the New England Patriots anymore, man. And that's insane to think that in a short amount of time.
I don't think any team ever feared them to begin with.
I'm sure there was several teams that feared them.
No, there were teams that circled that on their calendar and was like, I can't wait to play these motherfuckers.
And get beat.
Tom Brady's played 20-something years. He's won 7. I mean, that means there's 13 years that he hasn't won. So, I mean, the narrative of like, it's just, like I said, it's a fan narrative. It's a media narrative. It's not necessarily a football narrative. There is no player in the NFL that fears another man or another team. That's why they give Aaron Rodgers the ball back with 37 seconds left. Does that mean it's smart? No. But you don't fear it because you believe in your team. You believe that you can win regardless of the scenario. That's why Frank Wright and all these coaches get up there after every loss and they say, well, I thought we did some good things. I thought we did some things that we can build on. Blah, 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 blah. You don't go into a game being like, well, shit, we got Tom Brady and Bill Belichick on the schedule. Chalk that one up to a fucking loss. We might as well not even go out there and play. We're scared of them.
Well, Adam Gase probably did that.
Yeah, Adam Gase. Yeah, like there's
Matt Nagy.
Like, yeah, dude, like you're a grown man in the NFL. Like, I mean, not even the NFL. You're like just as a man. Like, I'm not even an NFL player. Like, do you remember that DeAndre Hopkins, like the Hard Knocks camp or whatever? Like, whenever he broke off,
whenever he broke old dude's ankle or whatever.
Yeah, he was talking about. He's like, I fear God. I fear God, homie. That as a grown man, like that's what, like, there's not another grown man in this world that I'm scared of. Are there a lot of grown men in this world that can beat the living dog shit out of me? Yeah. I'm not scared of them. Like, I mean, and as a football player, you got to have that mentality. You can't go into a week like, I mean, those are the games you circle. Like, those are the games that like this is a chance for us to prove ourselves as like a man, as a team. Like, ain't nobody scared of these motherfuckers. Let's go bust them in the head.
That's a great motivational speech. Okay, what is the final score of this game then?
Well, I mean, obviously we're taking the more talented team. Are you going to take the less talented team?
No, what's the final score of it?
Well, I fully expect Tampa Bay to try to drop 50. I think they're going to try to. So, I mean, I would say 55-21.
You think the greatest defensive mind of all time is going to let them hang 55 on them in their own home?
I mean,
so tell me more about why you hate Bill Belichick.
Just a second here, real quick.
Man, it's like y'all didn't listen to like anything that was just said.
Tell me more about why you hate Bill Belichick so much.
Y'all didn't listen to anything.
I'm messing with you, buddy. I'm messing with you.
We're just having fun, man. We're just having fun.
Oh no, I
don't think Tampa.
He's not dropping 55, man. He's not playing the fourth quarter, so.
He'll play. He'll play.
47.
Do you not remember 2007? Do you not remember that?
Oh, it's a different Tom Brady now, man.
No, it's not.
He's a lot more cool and relaxed. He can be himself now.
Yeah,
And he doesn't have.
Tampa Tom's a lot more kicked back. I think the score's more
look
like
look at that photo on the screen right there and tell me how laid back he looks.
You don't have to worry about some old guy in a hoodie anymore. You know,
He's laid back when he's not on the football
attention or
field. There ain't no
anything
such
like
thing
that.
as being laid back.
I think the score is more like 38-17.
I think he'll do everything in his power to break
42-10.
You know, then I mean, that's you were just talking about how it's a historically bad passing defense. You think they score 10 points?
Yeah.
Guess we'll see. I mean, just know that like if for whatever reason, dude, if New England wins this game, y'all are all
That ain't happening.
Y'all are getting fucking shit on hard whenever we do this show on Tuesday.
That's
I mean,
fine.
you ain't got too much room to brag considering you just picked them to score the most points out of any of us this week. But
yeah, exactly.
You know, hey.
But I mean, I also too like. I mean,
I'll bring the toilet paper if they
but
win.
you also play both sides of the field. Yeah, I feel you. All right,
exactly.
All right, Skip Bayless. Let's move on.
Exactly. Hedging those bets, baby.
So, said all that to say, start Tom Brady in fantasy this week. So, who should
I was
be
gonna say like, we've got
fantasy
this is
this
gonna be
week?
like a 3-hour podcast.
So, if we're starting Tom, we're not starting Lamar Jackson against the Denver Broncos,
which we alluded to earlier.
Yeah, we did. We talked about Tim Patrick. We talked about how Jared might have some Lamar points in terms of, why not to start him this week. I know Landon brought that up earlier, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm a little bit nervous about this one. Just because of his rushing, like just fantasy wise, he might even look that good on the field, might not have a great NFL game, but fantasy wise, I mean, like a few weeks ago, he put out a rushing performance that you would have been glad to get from your running back. And he plays quarterback. He gets other points on top of those rushing points. And then he's got Rashad Bateman and Miles Boykin both coming back this week as well to go along with the pass catchers they already have there. I'm a huge Rashad Bateman fan.
I'm sorry to laugh. You said Miles Boykin. I just had to.
I really don't care much about Miles Boykin, but I love Rashad Bateman.
I like Bateman too, but he's a rookie coming off an injury.
Yeah, right. I don't think he's going to have a huge impact week one necessarily.
He might. I mean, we've seen less. I mean,
yeah. So
you never know. I mean,
I like this call for the most part because I think Denver's defense is legit and Baltimore's offense has. I mean, look, you saw Baltimore's offense struggle a little bit against Detroit last week. So, if you're going to struggle against Detroit,
apparently there was some defensive coordinators around the league that actually contacted the defensive coordinator and was asking him like what their game plan was against the Baltimore Ravens. So it'll be interesting to see if any of those guys end up taking, any points from that game. And I mean, I think the main thing is like, you just got to have John Harbaugh give Devonte Freeman 10 carries. And
that's so crazy.
Unless you're not doing that, I mean, it's going to be hard to.
Man, I love Dan Campbell.
You got to have Hollywood Brown drop 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, that was part of the problem too. Was Hollywood Brown got a case of the drops.
I don't think. Yeah, I was going to say I don't think it was necessily them.
I love Dan Campbell. Like I do. He's
easy to root for.
He's like that little league coach that had every player on the helmet,
But so I'll let you guys ask me. I'm on board with this pick. I could definitely see the possibility of him having a down week. But I'll let y'all add some context to this one.
It's the Denver defense. Like they've not played anybody, and I think they know that. Von Miller actually made a statement today saying that this is like the first game where we're basically on notice. And I think, definitely he was out last year. Von Miller is still an elite defensive player. Those corners are they're lockdown corners, man. And Baltimore just does not have any weapons. They are a one-dimensional team. Yes, Lamar Jackson's Lamar Jackson, but if you stop the run, which is stopping Lamar Jackson, then he has to throw. And if Lamar Jackson is throwing the ball 30 times, most of the time, good things do not happen. I'm fully on board with Denver's defense this week.
I don't know.
I think they make a statement, man. I think they really do make a statement this week.
Because, I get your point too. But Lamar Jackson, like I said, I know he's dealing with a back injury and all that, but some of the throws that this guy's made in the pocket this year, like it's different than last year. He's throwing some absolute dots like this season. And like we said last week, like Hollywood Brown, he literally dropped 3 touchdown passes that were in his hands, like breadbasket. And I mean, if that's your best chance at stopping Lamar Jackson, that has nothing to do with, as great as the defense is, which granted they're not playing Detroit this week either. But
and those corners in Denver are a lot better than Detroit's
Yeah,
corners.
exactly. But I'm just saying, like, I don't think you can point to him, like you said, like if you're asking Lamar to throw the ball 30 something times, it generally doesn't end up well. I think in years past that might be true. From what I've seen this year, I don't think that's accurate. Because I think he's taken that next leap as a pocket passer this season. Just from the film, like some of the throws that he's made this year are throws that he wouldn't, I don't think he would have even attempted like the last couple of years. So I think as a pocket passer, he's grown tremendously. Obviously the rushing floor, but I think where I do agree with you, where this could be a down week for him is he just now today practiced for the first time this week with a back injury. And I do think that Denver defense is absolutely legit. So I think the defense, along with the back injury, if there's any kind of stiffness with him running the ball, because as we know, like back injuries, especially as you know, Jared, back injuries are it's not anything to take lightly, especially when you're asked to run the ball like he is. So, I mean, I think that would be where I would go with it. Not necessarily with him staying in the pocket and throwing. I think that's something that he's added to his game this year that I like. If he has to throw the ball 30 times, I wouldn't worry at all about him being inaccurate. So it'll be curious to see if their defense gets down early because we did see him get down. They didn't score a lot of points last week, but we did see him in it. Like I said, this is where it's a little bit different from the previous years because two years ago, maybe even last year, even in that MVP season, because we saw it in the playoffs, if they would have got down and you're asking him to throw the ball on a last minute drive to move them in the field goal range, that doesn't happen. And it happened last week. And some of the throws he made on that final drive even, were just absolutely incredible throws.
Let's pause for just a second. Justin Tucker kicked a 66-yard field goal to win that game. It wasn't like Lamar put them in great position to hit a chip shot to win against the Detroit Lions.
I mean, he converted a 4th and 19.
I understand. Yes.
I mean,
it's impressive.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Tucker also kicked a 66-yard field goal to win that.
Adam Vinatieri kicked a field goal in the snow. Are you giving Tom credit for getting him down there?
Well, yes, Tom Brady.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'll give it to Bill Belichick at that point. That would have been during the Belichick era of credit.
Well, I mean, yeah, like nobody's even talking about the kick, but I'm just saying, like, he made throws on that drive, like even in that 4th and 19, like he made throws, like they didn't start at the 45, 50-yard line where he only had to get 10 yards. I mean, he still had to get the ball 40, 50 yards down the field. But
because he didn't get it 50 yards down the field.
Yeah, a 66-yard field goal is, I mean, you got to remember, like, it's the end zone's 10 yards back too.
I understand that.
So, I mean, yeah, like he just the throws that he made on that final, the point is the throws he made are not throws that he would have made the previous 2 years, and he's making them. And like I said, the biggest shit, the Denver defense is a lot better, but if your biggest defense against Lamar Jackson is hoping that Hollywood Brown keeps dropping wide, like, touchdown balls, I don't know. This one makes me nervous because Lamar's grown, and as a pocket passer, now he's even more deadlier than he might have ever been, which is so scary to think about in the league. Because if this guy just keeps progressing at this pace, as long as there's no injuries and he's able to maintain that speed, he's such a different animal to play against and to watch. It's so fun.
Yeah, in Denver to start the year, they played against the Giants, the Jaguars, and the Jets. So this is, without doubt, to Von Miller's point, this is definitely, the first test for this defense, which, I mean, all of us believe on the talent that's on the defensive side of the ball, but, we'll see just how good they are pretty quickly whenever we watch this game this week. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, this is gonna be a really fun game.
Yeah, I'm just for lack of better options, I'm starting Lamar this week in one of my leagues, and I'm nervous about it. So I'm nervous about this call, but I'm also nervous about starting Lamar in the league that I have to start him in. So
yeah, this could go either way.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. But whenever we do a pass, we're not going to tell you that this week's pass is Jimmy Garoppolo. We got to pick one of these big name guys that might have a bad week. So he's got just as good of a shot as anybody other than maybe Kyler Murray at having a bad week this week. So I mean,
the Rams fan thinks Kyler Murray's going to have a bad week. Imagine that.
If Lamar Jackson
in that game.
If Lamar Jackson has a better fantasy week than Kyler Murray this week, you talking about coming on here talking about if the Patriots beat the Bucks. If Lamar shows out and Kyler don't, yeah, I'm coming out guns blazing. But the odds are against my favor, but I'm gonna have some fun with that one.
I mean, I wasn't necessarily on the Lamar train. I mean, like I said, this one makes me nervous. I don't think he's in for a bad game. The same way I don't think Kyler, like your whole point of why this makes you nervous is the exact same reason why Kyler Murray would make me nervous, is because the rushing floor for both of these guys, regardless of the passing statistics, the rushing floor for both of these guys just makes them so safe as top 10 quarterbacks. So I mean,
I think both of them will be top 10 guys this week.
Yeah, so I mean, and to me, that's not a pass.
I should say top. I think both of them are top 12 guys.
Yeah, to me, like if you have a quarterback one performance, that's not necessarily a pass for me.
No, it's just like you didn't draft these guys to be quarterback 12 on the week. That's
the thing. Even when you don't draft them, I mean, like it's gonna happen. Like nobody's gonna finish as a top 5 quarterback every single week for 16
No, I'm just saying weeks. I'm saying regardless of who we pick in this category right here, whenever you pick a top guy like this, we're not telling people to bench him. We're just saying temper expectations and maybe pepper the rest of your lineup with a little bit more upside than you might normally would, because you might be expecting a little bit less out of your quarterback than you would normally be expecting on a weekly basis. I think that's the type of call you're making with a guy like this.
Yeah, it's so hard for me to pick guys with rushing floors at quarterback to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's just such a safe bet that they finish top 5. Now, I mean, they might not. So I mean, we'll see. It'll definitely be interesting. Regardless, I think this is fun. So now let's get into our sleeper. Do we have a sleeper at the quarterback position?
We do. I'll let you take this one over.
All right. So this was actually my sleeper that I chose partly because I think this could be some rushing upside in this as well. A guy, look, if you started Terry McLaurin last week, I think this might be the get right week for Terry McLaurin as well. And Antonio Gibson, I know he's been dealing with some nagging injuries, but this is just such a good matchup for Washington to finally score some points in. And I think there's a lot of touchdowns in this. It might not be necessarily a huge yardage game, but I think this is one where you could see Logan Thomas, Terry McLaurin,
Curtis Samuel's coming back.
Curtis Samuel's going to be back as well. Antonio Gibson, could also, JD McKissick, of course, we know whatever the fuck that is. I don't like that guy.
Peyton Barber. It's Peyton Barber there too.
No, Peyton Barber.
No, he's out in Vegas.
Yeah, Peyton Barber.
Oh, okay. All
for
right.
The Raiders.
I was just thinking about Ray for a
second. He got a touchdown last week. Ray texted me, said, "Fuck Peyton Barber." But yeah, I think this is going to be a get right week for the Washington offense, and it's an incredible matchup. Atlanta, like I said, they're giving up 118 yards per game on the ground. So Ron Rivera, like that dude, like with Chip Kelly, was like Chip Kelly. That's what I'm saying. Like Ron Rivera, what the? You better run the ball 30 times, bro. Like Atlanta's giving up so many points on the ground. And I swear to Jesus, if I see 20 plus touches for JD McKissick, I'm gonna march my ass to Washington, and I don't know. I'll probably have a beer with you, but because I like you, Ron Rivera. But I mean,
We're gonna have to have a talk though.
yeah, we're gonna have to talk. I'll talk with you over a beer, but it's gonna be a very stern talk.
So I mean, you led us in this direction, but honestly, of our quarterback pass, smash, sleeper / streamer, this is my favorite of the 3 options this week. I really like Heineke as a sleeper or a streamer option just because of the matchup and the weapons at his disposal. The only thing I could see this going wrong is if the early touchdowns go to the running back. You know, if Antonio Gibson gets a couple goal line rushing touchdowns or something, and they get up early, and I know that would make you happy, but you know, for the sake of this call. For the sake of this call, I think that's
why you picked Heineke.
Skip Bayless, I'm hedging my bets.
Some reverse psychology there.
If I'm wrong, Antonio Gibson hits, and if I'm right, I hit on this show, so I can't lose.
Right. So that's the only way I really see this, you know, going wrong is if the first couple early scores in the game go to the running back's direction and it's not through the passing game. But the matchup's good. The weapons are great. Heineke is what he is. But I mean, with the defense on the other side of the ball and the guys that he has to get into, Heineke doesn't have to do a lot in terms of, you know, McLaurin and Curtis Samuel and guys like that. Like those guys can turn 2-yard passes into 70-yard house calls. So I like this one a lot. I think if you're hurting at the quarterback position this week and you need a dart throw, I think you can do much worse than Heineke. And he's a guy most places that is outside of the top 15 quarterbacks on the week that I think could finish there pretty easily. So I think this is a good one from Landon.
Yep. So
I agree.
We'll see, which means do you
football
have anything to
team
add,
is-
Jared?
Yeah, the football team's frustrating. They're a frustrating team, man.
That defense is frustrating.
I can't get you cannot get a call.
Might be another reason why this is a good call.
Yeah. And when you said Heineke, I was like, you know, I couldn't really get behind it at first. And the more and more we talked about, like, oh, he has this weapon and he has this weapon. And I'm like, oh yeah, that defense is really not good. And like
For some reason,
it just keeps teams in it, and they have to go back and forth. Like, so that Thursday night, I think it was a Thursday night game with the Giants. Like everybody before that game was shitting, like, oh my God, this game is going to be boring. It's going to be like 17-14. And there was 58 points scored in that game.
Daniel
like,
Jones, the second coming of Joe Montana.
The Giants were supposed to have this great defense at the beginning of the year. The football team's defense is front
That's why
seven.
I think didn't we have a fan that shit on us because the Giants defense?
Yeah,
You call
They
it
should.
Yeah,
in
our NFL draft podcast where we were doing like breaking down, it was NFL mock draft 1.0. I said that I had them addressing defense, and they were like, how could you dare say that we needed to take defense? You know, we got one of the best defenses in the league, and
no, on paper.
Instead, you guys took Kadarius Toney. How's that working out?
Yeah, it makes no sense, man. The best defense in the NFC East right now is the Dallas Cowboys. Let's take that in consideration.
Yeah, who saw that one coming?
That's insane. But yeah, for the reasons why Washington gives up a ton of points anymore, like Heineke is a great start. So
here's the thing too, man. This is something
I think that's a good pick.
This is something I've noticed too, like over the last 4 weeks or 3 weeks, I guess, like watching. There is no such thing in the NFL anymore as a great defense. It doesn't exist. Between the rule changes, the way the game is called, the offensive formations, there are good defenses. Like the Rams, I think, have a good defense, but even they're vulnerable. The Chargers have a good defense. The Broncos have a good, which I mean, granted, we just highlighted who they played, but they're like the days of like the Legion of Boom in Seattle, like the days of the days of these elite level defenses taking over. It's over with. Like there used to be, defenses like, they would allow, 10 points a game, 12 points a game. And that was just like, man, like that's a great defense. Nowadays, if you literally like over the last two, 3 seasons, if you allow less than 23 points a game, you are considered a great defense in the NFL.
It kind of goes back to the point that Bill Belichick's not adapted to the new NFL, and Tom Brady's completely adapted to the pass friendly.
Tom Brady.
Bill Belichick was his own undoing because he helped Brady lobby for the offensive rule changes and he shot himself in the foot.
Tom Brady knew he needed to position himself on the offensive side of the ball instead of the defensive side of the ball, and it's just
Belichick was
plays.
He was the last great defensive mind in the NFL, and he's just not what
Brandon
he wants.
Staley's the next great defensive mind.
Yeah, that's a fact. Brandon Staley really is.
I think there's a lot of like elite positional defensive players, like Tampa Tampa does not allow any rushing. I think Denver's corners
Carolina hasn't allowed more than 60 yards on the ground.
Carolina's looked really good. Really, if they beat Dallas this week, then maybe they are the elite defense.
I think Dallas handles them personally.
But even then, like Carolina, they've 14 points to the Jets, 7 points to the Saints, and 9 points to the Texans. So, I mean, the Davis Mills Texans. So, I mean, even they haven't necessarily played, great. The Jets, the Saints, the Texans. So, yeah, this is going to be our game where, like, we're going to see if Carolina's legit.
Similar to Denver. Yeah.
How many points did Dallas put on the Chargers?
It was 20. They were right around that 20 mark, right? It wasn't like a 20-17 game or something.
20 to 17.
It was not like some crazy number.
Yeah, 20 to 17. So that's what I mean. Like I think the Chargers have, and that's more to do with Brandon Staley. I mean, granted, they do have some really good pieces there. Derwin James is unbelievable. I'm so glad he's healthy. That guy is unbelievable. And to your point, like you said, there are some really great positional defensive players. But even then, like you're talking about, like that was elite level defensive play. They gave up 20 points, elite level.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, that just goes to my point, like just watching the league, it's such an offensive league and the rules are made for gambling and fantasy football, which is cool for us. But
fantastic.
Yeah. But whenever you're like me, like I'm such
it's made a degenerate out of me, basically.
Yeah. Like
my life. So.
Yeah. Like I'm such a purist. And like, it seems like I constantly see myself like,
we know Bill.
As much, yeah, dude, it pisses me off so much. Every time I watch bad defense, like it makes me so angry. Like
I love it. I don't even care. If every game is
run
like
the ball and play
60
defense.
to 55, I'm fine with it. Like I'm cool with it, dude.
Run
the
ball and play some damn defense.
If the defense scores a touchdown, I'm fine with that.
Time of possession and not letting the defense get. You can give up field goals all you want, but you ain't scoring touchdowns. And we're gonna double your time of possession. That's me. You can throw me back in like the 1980s.
I'm good.
I'm good where we're at. I'm good where we're at.
I love like that Rams Super Bowl, like the Rams in New England Super Bowl.
Oh my God.
That was an awful Super Bowl because
I thought you were gonna say that was a great Super Bowl.
No, because it had nothing to do with the defenses being great. It had everything to do with the offenses sucking ass. Like,
I do think that
and it wasn't because like that's what I'm saying. Like, if you go back and rewatch, which I know Drew, like I know you're definitely not going to go back and rewatch it, but
no, I'm good on that.
As a fan of football,
but I mean, both offenses, like there were so many plays that were missed by the offense that
it's sloppy.
Yeah, that's a better word for it. It wasn't because it was great defensive play. It was very, very sloppy offensive play. And
I
like
felt like
that shit
I do.
sucks.
I do think that Bill deserves plenty of credit. I think the Rams offense had its limitations, and there was only really one team that had pointed it. It was the Bears had it prior to that game. The Bears that season, that kind of showed what the Rams' limitations were, and McVay didn't do anything to combat that, and Belichick exposed all of their weaknesses, and McVay didn't counter that at all. And
Yeah,
so I do think
there was no halftime adjustments
no, so
at
I do
all.
think Bill really does. Like I've done a lot of trolling, and I will continue to, and I know will never stop trolling Bill Belichick. But I do think that defense does deserve a lot of credit for that game. It was frustrating to watch. It was literally like watching the first Rams Patriots Super Bowl all over again.
17 point. I think the only bad game, of course, was last week to the Saints. That was a rough game, but of course, 17 points they gave up to Miami with Tua, and then the 6 points. We know the track record with the rookie quarterbacks against Bill Belichick. So I mean,
it's not going to work out in your favor.
No. So, but yeah, other than that, I mean, really decent defensive performances. So, I mean, we'll see. Luckily, after this, they do get the Texans the next week. Then they get the Cowboys. Then they get the Jets. So it's like for every good game they play, they do get a rebound game against a bad team. So,
and they shall feast on those, at least on the defensive side of the ball. Well, offense is to be determined, but
yeah. So we will see. But now let's get into it real quick. We're going to end it there, and then we want to get into some lineups for you now that Jared is back. I know we're finally excited about this. Ready to throw in a lineup here in FanDuel, and we have Draft Kings. I'm sure he's been raring to go to get back into this one. So, what are our free lineups of the week, Big Holly?
Well, unfortunately, you're not able to play that Patriot. Well, you can play a Patriots Tampa Bay game, but it'll be a one-off. It's not going to be a part of like the Sunday Millionaire,
right?
Because it's a Sunday night game. So there's still a lot of good games with high point totals. The person I like to bounce back the most this week is Patrick Mahomes.
So we got Mahomes
on FanDuel. I would definitely go with Patrick Mahomes on FanDuel. What you want to do, obviously, is stack him with at least one pass catcher, but we're going to do two. We're going to do Kelsey, and we're going to do Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill was completely no-showed last weekend. I don't see that happening this weekend. Like, I think he's going to bounce back big. Like in Philadelphia. So. Yeah, Philadelphia's defense has not looked good whatsoever, and I think Kansas City is going to make a statement this week.
They are first against the wide receiver position.
Philadelphia?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Ranked 8th against the quarterback. Now they are ranked 24th against the tight end.
It's a tight end, okay.
So very vulnerable against the tight end, but quarterback and wide receiver, they've done a pretty decent job. But I think that's more or less so the competition they've played as opposed to them actually being a lockdown defensive unit.
Yeah. I always like to bring it back with one player too from the opposing side. And I think Devonte Smith's in a good position for a bounce back game against that secondary in Kansas City. So you can get 4 players from that game alone with, I don't necessarily feel like there's a lot of shootout potential, but I see Philly trailing. I don't see them running the ball significantly a lot. We talked about Gainsworth earlier in the podcast. I do think he is a sleeper, but for this lineup purposes, we're going to go Devonte Smith at wide receiver. So currently we have Mahomes at quarterback with Hill and Kelsey as his pass catchers with Devonte Smith as a bring back. At running back, we're going to try to save a little salary. We're going to go with a guy that I have not been super sold on all year, but I think this is the week, and that's Antonio Gibson. They are playing the Atlanta Falcons. So if they're playing the Atlanta Falcons, you play them no matter what. If it's wide receiver, a tight end, a kicker, a cheerleader, you're going to put them in your lineup at that point because the Falcons are that bad.
Unless you're Daniel Jones.
Unless you're Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has not been terrible for fantasy purposes this year.
No, he was ranked fifth quarterback overall going into the Atlanta Falcons matchup, and he was my quarterback smash of the week. And I believe he finished outside of the top 24 quarterbacks. So yeah, that's about how that goes.
Yeah, this one right here could be very tricky. We're gonna have to save some salary, obviously. We're gonna go with a $5,500 running back with Myles Gaskin against Indianapolis. Miami is a small favorite in that game. They are a home favorite. Anytime a home team is favorite by at least a field goal, you should feel pretty confident to start a running back. Gaskin's numbers on the year are nothing tremendous by any means, but he did have 19 touches last week. And with a backup quarterback who's going to rely mainly on dinking and dunking, I can honestly see him getting in the end zone this week. So
they are without their center this week as well. Miami.
Miami is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
they're a little banged up.
That's the only guy that's out is their starting center. Everybody else is ready to go and fully healthy, unlike the Colts.
Another salary saver who I really like this week. So you could go two ways here, and I want to get you guys' opinion on this.
Okay.
I like Tim Patrick at 6,100, but do I pay $100 more for Robert Woods? And the reason why is it's going to happen sooner or later. Robert Woods is going to have that game. Is this the week against Arizona where he does it?
Byron Murphy's been really good. Arizona's secondary has actually been pretty decent, surprisingly. I don't know. I think just for the fact that Tim Patrick was our sleeper on the show,
right?
I think we should go. I think we should go with Tim Patrick.
I'm fine with it. I'm perfectly fine with it. Let's see here. All right, so we have one flex position to fill. We got to save a little bit of salary. We can't go too crazy, but I kind of want to get some more involvement in that Washington-Atlanta game, which I think there could be a lot of sneaky points in there.
Terry McLaurin?
No, because we have Gibson. So if we look outside the box, Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley is due for a big game.
It's my week.
Yep, I think it's that time for Calvin Ridley. We basically at that point have enough for just any bottom dollar defense you can possibly plug in. You can go to Jets or to Houston Texans, whichever.
Yeah, and just remember for the Jets defense, even though they are the Jets, Julio and AJ Brown are both out.
Jets are not a bad option. So on FanDuel, it looks like a lineup we have currently is Patrick Mahomes, Antonio Gibson, Myles Gaskin, Tim Patrick, Tyreek Hill, Devonte Smith, Travis Kelce, Calvin Ridley, and the Jets defense.
That's what I got as well. So let's go ahead and let's throw it in. Let's throw it in the lineup and see what happens here.
Throw it in there. Let it cook.
So we've got it. And then you got anybody for Draft Kings?
I personally haven't looked at DraftKings that hard this week. After basically dying from COVID almost. Like I'm being dramatic about that. I do want to say one thing actually too, like this is kind of maybe the wrong spot to have it. You guys picked up the slack, man, while I was out. Like I'm really like I listened to the shows with you guys did without me and everything too. Like you guys can run this thing without me. I'm very privileged to be on here and talk football with my buddies. And this, like hearing everything that you guys did and like Drew, you beat yourself up over that Mike Gesicki thing. Dude, like, I mean, that's just, that's just one of those things.
That's football, baby.
It's football. It's the worst, man. Like putting your name next to something and saying what you think's gonna happen, and then the complete and utter opposite happening, man. It's tough.
Yeah, because it's not like some of these guys where like, they're not out there on the internet. Like
right.
I mean, granted, it's not like we're talking to thousands and thousands.
Oh no,
but even
the point I was kind of going to make here real quick before we do anything with DraftKings is, I do follow a lot of these guys on social media, like or with YouTube especially, or different outlets, and Tags from Fantasy Pros passed away from COVID, which is crazy, absolutely crazy. I've never met the guy, but I've definitely listened to his material for years, and like that's a huge thing. So like the whole time I'm sitting at home, and you guys are able to do these shows, and I'm like, God, I just want to talk football with my friends. Like it was a whole different kind of like appreciation for shit talking and stuff like
Just
that.
life in
So
general.
Wayne and we gave you a hard time on the Belichick stuff, but
Oh no, no,
like,
no.
I felt so it feels so refreshing just to like get on here and just be silly about it.
I love stuff like that. And just to go along, like I actually have had like, a few different conversations with Mike Tagliere, just because he's always been really open about his willingness to help people.
Oh yeah.
Getting into the fantasy industry. And, so, I mean, back whenever we did the old podcast, we talked quite a few times over that. And whenever he passed away, it did kind of hit a little bit differently for me, because it was almost kind of like a guy that I looked up to, I guess, in the industry, and wanted to, I thought of his opinion so highly that I reached out to him for advice. And have somebody like that taken away at such a young age, it's so hard. So just prayers go out to him. Prayers go out to Fantasy Pros, and especially his wife Tabitha. That's such a big loss for them. And I believe they still have
they lost their father way too soon.
Yes,
Like,
and and I mean,
39's young, man.
Yeah, it's not old at all. I know most of us are, creeping. I mean, we're in that age range, in your 30s, where that kind of hits home a little more, because that's not old. We don't view ourselves as old at all, and right there. So yeah, just prayers go out to his family, Fantasy Pros guys, the whole fantasy community, really, fantasy football players, just everybody that, you lost a really, really special guy. And it goes to show you, as always, if anything, the last couple years has taught us this. With me, I think the biggest thing was the Kobe thing. It's the fragility of life, and the appreciation of just the everyday mundane things, such as just waking up and seeing your significant other next to you, and being able to call your mother, or your parents, just which I know, like, not to bring that, but like I know, like with Drew, like you lost your father. So I mean, like people take that, just those little phone calls for granted a lot. And just to be able to, like I said, wake up to your wife or your fiance or your girlfriend, or just to see your kids, or to be able to call your mom or dad on the phone, like those are everyday things that a lot of us don't think about. And it is such a bigger deal than to some people than it is to us. And I think it's just a nice time, especially anytime you lose somebody, to reflect on that and just be appreciative of being able to get on here with your friends, like Jared saying, like just to be able to get on here and talk football with your buddies. It's an unmatched thing. And so it's been really fun, and I'm glad both you guys, and I'm sorry I kind of hijacked that.
But, oh no, man, you're good. You're good. I just wanted to make sure I threw that in there at some point.
Yeah, and I meant to do it on the last episode too, and it just got away from us, like it always seems to do.
Oh yeah. That's it's easy to do that. But so DraftKings, yeah, let's do a DraftKings real quick.
Which I'm not a DraftKings player because they made fun of the Colts. So you guys get none of my money. You're
bitter. You just gotta move on, man. No, that's all you can do.
I'm a FanDuel guy. I'm a Dapper Dan man.
So there's some options. Of course, kind of reiterate with DraftKings and FanDuel, there is a difference in the scoring system. FanDuel seems to be a little softer on salary as well, and it's half-point PPR, half point per reception, basically, where DraftKings is a full-point PPR, and you get bonuses based on 100-yard gains or 300-yard passing performances and things along those lines. So there are differences between the sites. I haven't personally looked into DraftKings too hard, but I was kind of making a lineup as we were talking here. So what do you guys think about I'm really high on this Minnesota Cleveland game a lot this week.
It's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be good. And one of the guys we mentioned as a sleeper was Tyler Conklin. What if we do a Kirk Cousins with Justin Jefferson, Tyler Conklin stack? And then our bring back player from that game could be Odell Beckham Jr., who is just due at this point for some kind of game.
Especially with Jarvis.
Jarvis out, especially. It could be this week. So I think that's definitely an option. Drew, your smash play of the week was David Montgomery, and I'm totally on board with you. He's at a very friendly salary on DraftKings, 5,800. He people kind of the knock on Montgomery on DraftKings is he doesn't necessarily get the target share, so you don't get the full point PPR. I think that's it. It's not really a appropriate knock because the guy can easily get 6 to 7 targets. It's been done. It was done quite a bit last year, especially towards the stretch at the end of the season. So I'm all on board on Montgomery as running back. Let's see here. We need another wide receiver.
I'm just glad I got Drew to pick David Montgomery as a smash.
I love it.
The Detroit Lions will do that to me.
Yeah, we had a long time like discussion when they were coming out of the draft. I was a big Montgomery guy over Josh Jacobs, and him and some other guys gave me a bunch of shit over it. And I don't know.
I didn't really hate Montgomery. I just like Jacobs more.
I like Josh Jacobs more as a player, but the opportunity is there with Montgomery. As far as
David opportunity.
Yeah, he's had plenty of opportunities. So another wide receiver keeping within a game with a high total, it could easily be a shootout. I kind of like Christian Kirk this week. We talked about.
I like that a lot too.
We talked about Ramsey is going to probably lock down Hopkins, and Hopkins being a little beat up as well. Arizona is not going to change who they are, no matter who they play. They're going to throw the ball. They're not going to run.
Rondale Moore, baby.
Yeah, Rondale Moore is another option.
There could be another dart throw, yeah.
Your running game in Arizona is Kyler Murray at this point. I don't have any faith in Chase Edmonds, who looked a lot better last week. I just feel like they are a pass first team, and their majority of time they're going to pass. Christian Kirk's a comfortable salary of 5,300, and I also want to keep it within that game as well. So, how long can this guy continue to hit? I say keep within the game. You go Cooper Kupp at 7,800, which is a stupid salary for a wide receiver. I feel like outside of Tyreek Hill or it's just a goofy
He's the number
salary.
one. He's the number one price wide receiver on FanDuel this week too.
And it's one of those things. How do you even debate it? It's hard to debate right now. It's goofy, but I like Cooper Kupp. So you're keeping within the game. We need one more player. We need one more running back. Let's see if we can get some volume. We got $6,100 to work with. Oh, guess what, Lane? Antonio Gibson at $6,100.
Hey.
This is the week for Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. I think he's gonna have a great week too.
Hope you told Ron Rivera.
We're putting a stamp on it. This is the week for Antonio Gibson.
Better tell Ron Rivera. All you gotta do is just look at that screen pass. He took 74 yards last week. Oh, maybe we should throw him the ball a little
His
bit.
only target of the week too, right?
Oh,
That was
two.
his one target. Oh, he had 2. Oh, okay.
He is questionable. I don't
Because he
think it's
dropped
anything to
another
worry
easy
about.
touchdown.
I don't feel like there's anything to worry about with his
yeah.
tag. I feel like that's really nothing. So on DraftKings, we're looking a lot different than what we look on FanDuel. We got Kirk Cousins at quarterback, David Montgomery, Antonio Gibson, Justin Jefferson, Odell Beckham Jr., Christian Kirk, Tyler Conklin, Cooper Kupp, rolling out the Jets defense again, boys.
Let's
at
go.
$2,000.
Let's go.
But
I like that lineup.
I think it's a very it feels like a safe lineup with a very high floor potential with a lot of those players.
Is what we need after the whole upside lineups of the last 3 weeks where we every upside guy that we put in gets injured in the first quarter.
Oh man.
Literally. Yeah.
We've had some rough injury luck with these lineups.
Well,
If you guys
that's
heard Cooper Cup, I swear to God.
That's like in our podcast league last
Julio
night.
Jones.
In our podcast league last night, I have T. Higgins on the bench. He's out. I have DJ Shark as my flex. He gets hurt in the first drive of the game.
Damn.
Broken ankle. Like, it's just one of those things, man, where what do you do? Like it's you play who
You can't predict it.
Yep.
Yeah. So that'll be our free lineups of the week. We do have a DraftKings. We do have a FanDuel lineup that we provide to you every week, hopefully to make you some money. Obviously, it's not worked out the last 3 weeks, but that doesn't mean it can't work out the 1 week. And all you need is 1 week. So yeah, just make sure you plug those in. Make sure you share with your friends. If you do end up making some money, go ahead and tag us, on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever, you make the money at. Just make sure to tag us and then make sure to share our podcast as a favor. So we're going to end the show there. It went really long because we got into an argument.
I feel like I was back on Facebook in like 2010.
Yeah, I know, man. It's 2 against 1 over here. I'm getting bombarded, but look, somebody's got to hold down the fort. Big Bill, I see you there on the left looking at me. I still got your back no matter what.
He does got them side eyes looking like he's looking over at you.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, man, look, I'm trying to do my part for the football community, even though you've broken my heart a million times. So we're just, like I said, we'll let Andrew do the closing real quick, and then we're going to get out of here because we've already taken up enough of your time. So
yeah, if you somehow let us take up this much of your time and you made it through the whole Tom Brady, Bill Belichick argument, where I'm not sure any of us were even arguing the same argument during any point of that. Like I felt like there was like 4 different arguments within the argument, which is what made it so fun. But if you made it through that all the way to the end, salute to you for making it that far. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Hopefully you guys are successful in your redraft leagues and your keeper leagues, your dynasty leagues this week. Hopefully you make some money over on FanDuel or DraftKings, and then hopefully we see you back here again, at the beginning of next week to wrap up how week 4 went for us, which hopefully we're all a little bit richer, and hopefully Tom Brady is another win. Got another win under his belt. So, first and foremost, thank you for hanging out with us. We're anywhere that podcasts can be found. Go over, like, subscribe, follow, whatever that platform wants you to do, and then head on over to YouTube if you want the visual to go with the audio. We are on YouTube as well. Make sure you subscribe to the channel while you're there, and then click on the little bell that's going to pop up so that you can be notified of the 2 podcasts a week that do come up each week. And then while you're here, drop in the comments and let us know who your smash or pass of the week is at a particular position, who you like in DFS this week, who you like in the Pats and in the Bucks matchup, what your thoughts are on the whole Bill versus Tom. It must be one type of thing. All those conversations are fun to have.
Like a Highlander over here.
Even if they're ridiculous, they're still fun. I know that's where I grabbed that from. Those discussions, as ridiculous as they are, they're fun to have. So drop in the comments and have those with us, and we'll be happy to to get down with those in the YouTube comments with us. And then, of course, if you've somehow made it this far, make sure to go ahead and like the video while you're here. All the likes and the comments and stuff like that really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. So, we appreciate all the support. We appreciate you guys hanging out, and we look forward to wrapping up week 4 with you here in just a few days.
Yes, sir. And so I'm like, we're not going to top a Highlander reference. So I'm just going to end it on that note right here. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next week to discuss how wrong we are. Have a good one.